Yes, let's not take much time. We have the final speaker today, Inma. She is a telecommunications engineer expert in quality assurance, specialized in test automation. She is currently the CTO and task product owner with CIPSA, which is a Spanish privately held IT and telecom consultancy services founded in 1985. To add more to her bio, Inma can be defined as a testing geek, a problem solver, and innovator. Her other passions are her love for sports, especially triathlon, and she plays music too, trombone, saxophone, and drums. So she's super talented professionally and personally as well. I can see that. Yes, so taking over the last session of this Global Digital Transformation Summit 2021, we will now be hearing from her as she talks about spherical quality, software quality in the digital era. So yes, Enma, the time is now yours. To all the viewers here, please have your questions reserved for the session that will be opened up right after the speaker presentation. So yes, we will now give the time to our speaker today.
Okay. Thank you, Setalu, for your introduction. Perfect introduction. So you define myself better than I will do. And really thanks for the opportunity that you and the team is giving us in order to introduce this concept for spherical quality into the attendance and for sure to the world, no, that is attending to this good event. So thank you for everything, for your kind introduction. And then I will go right now through this concept, spherical quality. So as Setulu introduced myself, I'm in Malarcon. I'm currently the CTO and the task product owner working in CIPSA. And we, our company, have defined, or we go through this spherical quality concept. So we hope that everyone likes what we are going to introduce, and for sure we are open later on to answer any question and any doubt that you will have, because we are really interested to transmit this concept into the world, and as you see in this first introduction slide. So going to the presentation, I would like to start with an easy and fast question to answer, and giving you the option to answer us through the chat if possible. Do you think quality is important in the digital era? So let's think of it and consider if really this is something that is important. Yes, you are answering yes. Wow, yes, very much important. Yep, I'm totally aligned with your absolute yes, no? So let's go through and let's identify why we think really this is important, and really to understand why we have developed this new model, because it's needed, no, to consider. So into the digital era, what we find is that software is a key factor in business success. So the reality is that business requires software in order to go further and achieve success. Additionally, the people, the users which are using the software or the services provided by the company requires quality, no? Because at the end, the people likes things working well, going well, making possible to make the life easy and so on. And the problems or the errors, the people doesn't like, no? Therefore, software quality assurance becomes an imposed necessity into the digital transformation. And then the key point here is how to implement software quality assurance is a must, because it's a must for the business organizations. And because in the end, need to be know how to do, no? And then before entering in the concept and in the model itself, I would like to do reflection about how this spherical quality concept was born. So this spherical concept burns due to my frustration, and it's born due to my frustration to see that companies don't always know how the process need to be done in order to achieve quality or to produce good testing. Based on my experience, and as I introduce myself, I'm the TAS product owner. TAS is a test automation system tool that is enabled to automate end-to-end the testing process. And it's bringing really good functionality to ensure quality into the transformation project and so on. And the reality is that I realized that the companies are contacting me in order to implement as much as automation as possible. Yeah, everybody knows that DevOps requires automation in order to success. But the reality is when you go and you go deep into the processes, the organizations, and how the different teams work, is that you see that there are some gaps into the testing process. So the basics are not known. And this is bringing me to a frustration, no? Is why quality is so difficult to implement, or why the companies are taking wrong and are not implementing properly the quality and the testing process. Therefore, the aim of the spherical quality is to try to bring it into a simple way in order that everybody understand the basics, that we can ensure quality in this digital world. So then let's see how I and we at CIPSA understand the quality. What we consider is that actually the current concept of quality or quality assurance need to be adapted and evolved. And this evolution is what we call spherical quality. And what we consider is that the spherical quality have three dimensions that we need to think about. The first dimension is the x-axis, which is the typical one, is to apply quality standards, quality assurance standards. So to take the basis and take the theory. No? The second axis is that we need to understand the business environment where the software is used or produced, in order that we don't only take the basis, so the theory, but also we apply into the reality. And the third and final axis is what we call z-axis, is to involve end users when it's possible, or when it's not possible to involve them, really to understand their needs and priority. Because what we think is that in the end users are going to provide us really the quality, because they are the critical ones with the quality that the service, the software, and the product is producing. So as you see, we are thinking that spherical quality is the evolution and the adaptation from the standard quality assurance into two more dimensions, and the dimension of adapting it into the real business for every company or organization, and the axis that is going to help us to involve the end user or to understand how they think for applying the quality in the way that they need. This is basically the concept. Then if we go through, what we would like to do in this introduction is to explain you different axes one by one, in order that you can see different techniques that I personally and we at CIPSA are using in order to implement the quality in the different organizations, enterprise, companies, and so on. So starting by the x-axis, the first topic is, let's think in applying the quality standards. But for applying the quality standard, let's think what does mean. No? Software quality assurance is the process which assures that all software engineering processes, method, activity, and work items are monitored and comply with the defined standards. So in the end, we will have a defined standard, and we need to ensure that every process and every method is properly matching with the defined standard. And the reality is that in this world, we have a lot of standards, like, for example, ISO standard, CMMI standards. Then we have Six Sigma or Lean Management Standard. Also for testing, we have the V model for testing and so on. And the reality is that these standards seems to be complicated, no? And then we need to find a way to have it simple, visible, and then don't forget really which are the key concepts for each one of the standards that are allowing us to apply, no? To be applied. So then let's go through some simple examples to review and to have in our mind which type of standard we are referring to and which are the things that we can consider. For example, in first case, we have selected this Six Sigma quality assurance method that, as you see in the presentation, it was initiated by Motorola in 1988, so by the engineer Bill Smith. And it's a strategy for ensure business and quality improvements. And the idea, what is behind that, is that is trying to reduce and eliminate the defects and the failures. As you see here, the model is based in 5 simple stages. The first one is to define. So to define really what we want to achieve. Then to apply this and to measure. And measure in the way that later on we can analyze to see how much we are deviating for the standard. Finally, we are going to, after analysis, we are going to detect which are the room for improvements. And later on, we will go for a controlling phase in order to ensure that the improvement detected can be applied and are moving into the right direction. The goal in the end, in the Six Sigma quality standard, is to reduce and eliminate the defects, the amount of defects. Usually, Six Sigma is called like that due to it's based on the standard cure, and it's presenting 6 levels, where level 1 means that you have the maximum number of defects, and level 6 means that you are really introducing quality because the amount of defects and failures has been reduced to the minimum. So this will be a short summary about the Six Sigma. We can go in the next slide to a different model to take in consideration. In this case, we have considered that would be interesting to see the standard model, the V model, which is the standard for verification and validation for software that is applied in the software development life cycle. And here, what we see, or the idea which is behind, is that we apply that into the waterfall models. And what we apply is a testing type by each phase of definition of the project or the software. So where we see here requirements analysis matched with the acceptance testing, system design matched with system testing, architecture design matched with the integration testing, and module design matched with the unit testing. In the case of the V model, it is really, let's say, a high discipline model, because you need to ensure that in order to promote to the next testing phase, you need to complete the previous one. Otherwise, you cannot promote or continue promoting your software. Therefore, you start with your coding. Later on, you apply the unit testing. When the unit testing is validated, you go to the integration test. After that, you go to the system testing that will be functional, non-functional, and so on and so forth. And finally, you go for the acceptance testing. So this is the standard model that, as you see, also is not difficult to see, no, and to understand. It can be more difficult to implement, and we will find always people that forget that we should proceed in that way, and they want to move from skip some steps or even move from one step to the other without the proper order. So this is, let's say, the model was applied for main waterfall methodologies, but with the evolution of the digital transformation and the new methods and new technologies, also the methods for working and producing software has changed. As you know, we have the agile methodology, and the agile methodology has also some standards that can be introduced in order to ensure quality along the process for developing or producing the product. So the first quality standard that we have into Agile is the DOR and DOD concepts. So as you know, the DOR is the entrance criteria to the user stories for the sprint. So to verify that the story is properly written and can be implemented because it's properly understood. And then we have the DOD, which is the definition of done. That is the exit criteria for the user story. That means that the user story complies with the requirements. So that means that the implementation, once the DOD is provided, is properly done. So this concept is bringing us at low level and at deep level the quality, no? Because we are going to ensure user story by user story that is produced with quality. But additionally, each user story, each sprint, and the different backlogs are part of the product development life cycle. So this will be the umbrella that is covering the continuous sprints which are done in order to produce a final product or a final service. Therefore, into agile methodologies, there are also techniques which are helping us to ensure quality. And these are the so-called quality gates that will represent, like as you see in this picture, like traffic lights, no? Because in the end, the quality gates are the methods or the mechanisms that are going to measure and monitor how good is the healthy to achieve the criteria for moving from one phase to the other in the product development life cycle. As you see here, we have ideation, concept and validation study, architecture, minimum viable product, and each one of these phases requires criteria that need to be monitored in order to clarify how good or bad is the process for ensuring the quality. So this is, let's say, the main concept on how the main teams which are working in agile methods are applying the quality. And as I explained, this x-axis is the theory. As you see, there are many methods that are allowing us to ensure quality, independent on the way that we work. That means which is if we are using waterfall or we are using agile, and independent on in which environment we use. So this is really the theory. Going to the next slide, we will see that now this theory needs to be applied to the reality, and this probably will be the tricky point, no? So for applying the theory into the reality, we need to understand where we need to apply the different methods. So that means we need to understand which is the business environment where the software is being used or is being implemented, no? So what we want to say with that? What we want to say is that in the reality, each company is different. Each company has a different sector that they are working. So for example, we have different softwares that are going to be used in a bank or in a company that is producing cars, or we can have a startup that is, for example, triggering an application for managing the shifts between in the restaurants of the waiters of the restaurants, for example. So each company is different, And what we need to understand is that each company is going to apply money, as you see in the picture. They are going to apply the budget, the time. They are going to consider based on which is the functionality that the software produces, and which is that the capacity, the team capacity that they have in order to implement. So that means in the end that depending on which type of software we are implementing or which type of project we are working on, the company is going to apply more or less resources in order to ensure the quality. For example, it's not the same the resources that a company applies for a project which is really earning money because it's their main business, than the budget that they applied and the resources that they apply for ensuring quality into an application that need to be implemented because of legal requirements and need to be compliant, as well as the time that we have in order to implement one or the other software is different. So I mean, with that, what I mean is that we need really to think which is the company we are, which is the type of the project, and also to visualize and understand how these four concepts, time, budgeting, capacity, and functionality, can be applied by each one of the projects for producing or delivering the software and the service that is going to be delivered. In order to make more visible and more easy to understand that, what we at CIRSA have created is this testing model canvas. This testing model canvas is going to allow us to have a let's say, fast view about with the main topics that we need to consider in order to think how we are going to apply the standards for achieving quality. Yeah. And as here, you can see that there are different elements, starting for understanding which is the system under test. You see in the left side, the system under test, which is divided in two parts. One is from and the other is to. And this is due to in most of the cases in the digital transformation now, we are moving from one old system or legacy system to a new system, which is modernized and in a cloud environment and so on. So one of the main topics that we need to think about for creating the testing strategy and the model for ensuring the quality is which is the system that we have behind, and if we are talking into a transformation itself, we need to understand both the from and the to. Additionally, we need to think how the company is going to approach the possibility of using testing environments, and which are the main interfaces that need to be considered for the project, depending on the architectural design of the system for being tested. As well, we need to think in how we are going to test and with which data. Should we use data which is testing data, or should we use really data from production or real data? And then we need to think in how to scramble, how to anonymize in order to be compliant with GDPR laws and so on. These are concepts which are technical, yeah, in order to later on define how we are going to do the testing. But there are other concepts which are not really technical itself, and they are more related on what is really the management and the business side of the company saying about this project. And for that, we can go to the right side where we see rollout and acceptance. It's really important and really key for applying the quality standards to understand which are the main things which are important for the business and the management. That means because all the testing activities need to be aligned to the model, no? In order to drive all the activities in the good way. So in thinking in the rollout is needed to understand which is going to be the approach for deploying or implementing the software, because it's not the same, for example, to build a big bang that requires that you need to be 100% compliant with all the quality, because otherwise you don't have time to react, or in the case that you want to do a rollout that is going to be more progressive and step by step in different phases, including a pilot, for example, because in that way you can leave some steps that can be tested at the end and can be validated at the end of the chain during these incremental stages of the implementation. Acceptance for sure is a key criteria. So we need to understand that the acceptance needs to be done in the end by the business. And these acceptance criteria need to be written at the beginning in order that before deploying to implementing into production, these acceptance criteria need to be fulfilled. And these are basic concepts, no? From the left side, you see that there is more the technical part and the environment things that are allowing us to execute the testing. In the right-hand side, you see that we need to think also in more the business side, know how to implementation plan, and also to get which is the acceptance criteria from end users. But additionally, there are other things to consider in order to ensure how we can do our testing activities, which is which type of tool, processes, and reports are needed or need to be produced in order to monitor all the testing activities. And also to understand which is the team, no, that we consider in order to do the testing and the acceptance. Which are the capacities, which are the profiles that we have, and so on. So thinking on this testing model canvas is going to, in a first shot, to give us the possibility to understand which is the company environment that we have in terms of how we can apply the quality. Therefore, I would like to show you a short example. And so some examples that you can see in a graphical way, which is the results. So the example in this case is, imagine we are in a startup that is developing a new application, a new mobile application, and then we need to consider how we apply the theory to the reality. So for sure is a startup that is bringing this new application as a new model, and they want to validate if this is something that is good or bad. And the money that they have for applying quality is the minimum level, okay? So then let's start thinking in the rollout. When you talk to the person that is giving us this project for testing, what we see is that as they are in a startup, they really want to check as soon as possible if this is working or not. So it's going to bring the minimum functionality, the minimum one that should work properly, because what they want to do is to, in the case that they have to fail, because this idea that they have is not good, they can fail cheap and fast, okay? So then the condition is, really, you are not going to have a lot of money for checking quality, but for sure, you need to focus in the main functionality, and this one needs to work well. So everything that you need for validating this functionality should be done in place, no? Then, because the idea also will be to see how business is reacting to the application, and they want to receive the validation directly from the business users. So then going to the acceptance, the point is that we are going to do a lean and fast quality acceptance process. Even the CIO is the one that is going to decide if they deploy finally or they publish to production or not. And then thinking on that, we can go to the left part of the canvas. And then if we think in which is the system that we have to test, we will have a new application that is introducing the minimum functionality. It's only a new application, therefore we don't have an application that we are coming from, and we have to compare. In this case, it's totally new. So we need to define properly which is the functionality and the test cases that are going to cover this specific functionality. Then, as we don't have many budget for checking, in this case, we will have the environment where the development is done and can be tested, and finally, the production that once it is validated that is working, will be introduced into production. And what we will use for data is testing data, because in this case, we are not going to have really real production data. And in terms of framework, processes, and reports, it's going to be a lean process using the tools which are open source or really basic tools like Excel that are allowing us to have a tracking of the testing activities that we are doing. And in case of the testing and acceptance, it will not be a case that we have a huge team dedicated for testing, but will be a team created based on the people from the company, a small team that is going to be focused on validating the functionality. So this is a general approach that we will find in a startup. In the case, for sure, we have different type of projects, and we can show in the next slide another example. For example, in this case is we are presenting a transformation project that is moving from mainframe to cloud. So in this case, we should go through the main topics as we did for the startup, and we will identify that there are different elements and there are different things to consider along the complete process. In the case of this transformation project, one of the main direction from management and the business areas is, please, I don't want a big bang, because I want to avoid all the risk that I have, because normally in this case of transformations, the systems which are mainframe are stable from years and years, and they are producing the support for the business, their business. Therefore, in this case, we need to think in an approach that is going to be extensive, long, and we need to think in avoiding the risk in production. But additionally, usually in these companies, we find that they say, but consider that parallels, that means use legacy and cloud in parallel during many time, this is going to produce cost, and this need to be avoided. So taking these two considerations, later on we need to go through and step by step of each one of the elements and identify which are going to be the basis that are going to allow us to introduce the testing activities in the good way into the project. Okay, so as you see here, and in the case that we analyze the system under test, we need to understand both legacy, which is the front, and cloud environments, which is the two. We need to consider much more environments for testing, because the validation is going to be complex with a lot of interfaces and so on. Therefore, we need to think in integration environments, then in a pre-environment for doing system test, and finally the pro environment in order to allow to go to production. As well as data. Data is going to be much more, we will need different types of data, even taking data from production in order to validate properly that the behavior of the new system is working properly with data that is not only testing data, also real data. And allowing with this, the testing activities that we will do are going to be really following the complete process and the complete flow that we saw already in the V model, no? Because the extension of activities are really huge for this type of projects. Also, if you see in the low part, there are a lot of tools and frameworks that need to be used in order to coordinate with other projects that could be in parallel, ensure automation to be as fast as possible, have really every single activity under control, understand which is really the status of the testing activities, and so on and so forth. So in this type of projects, the environment and the framework is much more, let's say, complicated with additional tools that requires the capabilities to monitor all the activities and ensure the quality, as well as the test and acceptance teams. In these cases, we need to ensure that the team is built not only for a testing team, but also need to consider the connection with the integration team, for example, for introducing the data into the systems, allowing the integration of environments. We need really the involvement from business users in order to validate and accept the software. And we need to consider that, and as there are many connections with other systems, also external work streams need to join or be part of the implementation of the software. So this will be an example then of a testing model canvas. As you see, this is basically a tool that is helping us not to forget any element and consider all the different tools, people, environments, and elements that we need to apply into the organization for ensuring quality and good testing in order to achieve the rollout statements, no? That is, to avoid risk and to avoid parallel cost. So at the moment, we have seen basically the, let's say, the flat level of quality assurance is apply the theory into the reality. But now we have in the spherical quality concept, we have the key and the most important element that we need to consider into the digital transformation. And is that we need to involve end user when possible, because they are really the ones keeping the quality and telling us really and be the most critical with the quality of the software that we produce. And in the cases that we cannot involve them as we would like, because of it is not possible, they are not able to be contacted and so on, what we need is to understand their priority and their needs in order that our testing teams and the people that is really applying the quality is able to do it in the good way and in the good direction, like if they were in the shoes of the end user. And for applying that, there are different, we have developed also different methods and tools that are going to allow us to understand the users. As you see in this slide and in the presentation, we consider that we can understand a user by doing first market segmentation. What means market segmentation? Means that we can identify unique groups with the different type of users that are going to use the software and the application or the service that is being produced and being tested. Doing these market segmentations, later on, we can go to identify one person of this segmentation and make a semi-fictional character based on the idea of the customer. So that means we are going to try to understand one person of this segment, okay? And finally, we have the empathy map. The empathy map is the method that is going to allow us that by taking one user, persona, as we call it here, we can really think how she or he will behave in front of the application that we are testing or in front of the system that we are introducing. So then let's go step by step in what means each one of the concepts in a graphical way. And the idea will be later on to present an example. So here you see this is the segmentation part. The idea will be that we identify segments by location or the area that they belong to into the organization, by demographics, so which type of people in terms of age, gender, ethnicity we are considering. Later on, we have a psychographic possibility for segmentation that will be more personal values like lifestyle and aspirations. And finally, we have behavioral, that this will be how the people behaves in front of the technology, in front of the application that we are developing. So this will help us to identify different combination of groups in order to make segments of our end users. Once we have these different segments, we can go for identifying the study of a user persona. And this user persona, we have techniques like the DISC methodology that are allowing us to understand how these persons are behaving, working, and which type of psychological concept they have. So as you see here, with this DISC methodology, we will see if we have a dominance person, an influencer, an steadiness, or a conscientiousness person. So that is more focused on the details, and they are a bit afraid of being wrong. No? So with these methods, we are going to be able to allocate or to identify how the persons of the different segments will behave or will be, no? And once we have identified this, consider that, we can go through the empathy map. And in these empathy maps, what the idea for that is really to understand how one of the persons that we have get from the segment is behaving in front of our application in terms of what is he or she thinking about the application, what he or she sees, what here and what he's saying about that, in order that is going to give us the possibility to get conclusions, no? Which are the main efforts or problems that they have with our application, and which are the results of the applications in front of this person. So let's go to a real example that I think it's always more visible and easy to understand. Let's think, for example, that we have to test an application that organize inside a restaurant shift changes. So that means this application is having functionalities like a chat, like a calendar shift and schedules, in order that the waiters can work and can know which is the shift that they have to do. So let's go how we can use the segmentation part. If we think in the part for the location, we are going to have restaurants, which is the where the application is going to be for, in cities, medium cities, and town. Then we are going to find at demographic level people that is going to be less than 30s, or between 30 and 45, 45 and 65. Thinking in lifestyle, for example, we are going to have people which is non-stop lifestyle, like all the time moving, open-minded, and so on, with work, home, and kids, and everything in parallel without time. And then we have people which is much more relaxed and with a lifestyle which is more slow. Yeah. And finally, in the behavioral part, we can think on how they are reacting in front of the technology, or how much they are using, the technology. If they are using in a high level, or it's sporadic, or really they are not using a lot of the technology. So thinking on this, we see that there are different segments and different segment combinations. What we will do is to in this case, for analyzing the user persona, what we will do is to think in one user, like Lisa, in this case, with 34 years, that will be for the demographic suites in between 30 and 45. And she is working as a waitress in a fast food restaurant that has a non-stop life cycle, and she lives in a medium-sized city, and she usually uses a lot the mobile phone and the apps, so she is every day using the application. So then we take this person, and by using this methodology, we can see that she is an influencer. Because seeing the personality, the interests, and the skills, we see that we can allocate her as influencer. Then this is good for us to know, because she's open to use the new functionalities of the application, and she's also able to influence colleagues with the experience that she has, positive or negative, no? So we can really think on using this type of person, an end user, as a guinea pig for testing, yeah, because she, not only for testing, also for the implementation, because she is really going to give us a feedback about how good or bad is this application openly, and additionally, she is going to influence in other waiters that are colleagues from them in order to do testing. So with this, we can get a good approach. And now let's go to do the empathy maps in order to understand really which are the main things that we need to consider for testing, no? The empathy maps is going to help us to see that, for example, she's expecting and that the application is helping her to organize the work life, because she can have a balance, no? Additionally, what she sees for the application is that she likes a lot the chat in order to communicate with the employees and the managers in a fast way and in a easy way without talking and so on. Because she has changes that are coming up in the last minute. Then additionally, what she can tell us or is telling us is that the last update of the application is not responding as well as before when she's trying to send audio chat. So this is something that need to be considered for the testing activities. And finally, what she heard is that he has a friend that is working in a different restaurant that is using a different application, and he likes a lot the emojis that are available in the chat function. Yeah. So then with this, we can take that right now she's having efforts with the last version, because it's not performing as well as before in the audio topics. And additionally, in the results, we see that in general, she's happy with the application, but there are some improvements because she's missing some emojis like the other colleague from the other restaurant. So in this view, we can be in the shoes of the end user, no? After analyzing the segment, after checking how this user persona is, and after doing the empathy map, we really can go now to think in our test cases, not only from a functional perspective, but also if I were she, Lisa, which are going to be the main test that I will do in order to apply to use my application. And therefore, what I'm going to do with that is to bring the quality with the user perspective. So, checking the time that we are really almost into the hour of meeting, I would like to go for some conclusions, and later on we can, in case you have any question or any doubt, we can go through. But for me, before going away for the questions, I would like to summarize really which is the conclusion from Spherical Quality. So the conclusion is the core of quality resides in the end customer. and in their experience as users. Therefore, we need to think in quality, not only in the standard way, but extending in the concept that we are calling spherical quality. Additionally, the organizations need to deliver software quality, because if we are not delivering software quality, there is no business at all. The reality is that the organization need to keep the end users happy, and therefore they really need to think that quality need to be applied in the good way. And as we have seen, spherical quality, thinking in these three axes, are allowing us or meets the needs that requires the implementation of the quality into the different business and therefore in the digital era. So I hope that you have liked the presentation of spherical quality. We at CIPSA are really open to listen to your opinions, your questions, your doubts, and make possible that we can transfer the concept of spherical quality along the world, because I think in that way we will really bring quality everywhere. So here you can see my contacts, and also for sure you can always search for us in LinkedIn to get our contact. So me personally, or we at CIPSA, we will be really open to share, discuss and review quality concepts and how we can apply into the digital era and the digital transformation world.
All right, thank you so much, Inma, for that beautiful presentation on spherical quality, a concept created by you. Thanks a lot for that. So since today is the last day for the event, we will have the Q&A session. We can put extra time on it as well. So to everyone who has any questions to ask our speaker today, please go ahead and put it on the chat, or you can also raise hand using the reaction option. Either way, the speaker will be glad to answer your questions. So we will open up the time now for the Q&A session. So please go ahead to everyone who would like to ask questions. Well, on chat, I see a lot of positive feedback for you, Inma. It has been a brilliant session.
Really, thanks for your comments. These are really appreciated, because this concept is for me really a concept that I really believe that everybody should see in order that we can go for applying quality in this digital transformation world. Thanks for you for attending. And it is really a pleasure for me to share all these type of concepts and ideas with people which are interested on quality.
Great. We are also very glad to have you here to present at the summit. So yes, everyone, we are open to the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, you can raise hand or put it in chat. If there are no questions, we will go ahead and conclude this event. Yes. So now is the time. We can wait for a couple of minutes to keep this session open.
So Tulu, I see that there are some questions like if there is going to be any accessible link for the recorded videos.
Yes, we will update all of that after the end of session. So I see also there is one person who is asking for the participation certificate. So we will be providing that. So please be patient. Right after the event, our team will be working on it to send out the certificate of participation to every one of you. We expect that you have at least attended 6 of our sessions. So yes, we will keep you updated on that. All right. If we do not have any questions today, I believe we can say that we can, conclude this event. I'm sure that Inma, your presentation has been, well detailed and has been adapted well with all the viewers. So thanks so much again for, coming to GSDC's Digital Transformation Summit and presenting us on the very last day of our event. Thanks a lot, Inma.
Thank you. And I would like to really thank Lorena my colleague that was helping me to prepare the presentation with the really good detail and changing in the last minute some topics. So really thanks, Lorena, for your help, your effort, and also the team, the CIPSA team that was working with me to prepare this presentation. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. So we have the feedback form also going on. So please put in your valuable feedback in regards to the event in general, and also for the speaker of the day, so that if there are any areas of improvement, we will be happy to, look into it and present the best of the best events for you as a hosting organization, Global Skill Development Council. So we have this DTO Summit LinkedIn group open to all the registered summit members. So please please go ahead and put a request to join this group, and we will be happy to take you in. So any questions in regards to the event, and also any offline questions that you'd like to ask the speaker, then please go ahead and put it down there as well. I request the speaker to also join this group. It will be a great deal for all of us to still communicate with each other even after the event concludes. So yes, we have this DTO certification going on, which is the Certified Digital Transformation Officer with GSDC. So if anyone is interested, you can also look at it as well, and you can get back to any one of our teams. We will be happy to assist you on how to be called as a Certified Digital Transformation Officer. Yes, thank you so much to everyone who has been attending these sessions regularly with us, and to everyone who has also joined us for the first time. It has been a pleasure hosting, and we believe that even in the future, there will be, similar events like this, since like I mentioned earlier, we do host such events, twice in 2 months or in a quarter. So that would be great if you can also keep joining these sessions. It's a great time of learning, and we have top global speakers who come in together to present such valuable discussions. So all right, everyone, thank you so much. We will keep you updated about the certificate of participation. So please be patient, and we will see you at the next event. So yes, thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good day, good evening, and a good night. Thanks a lot.